Hello and welcome to BonkTable. I'm Mass and this is another Conquest Battle Report. Today I finally get to play into Sorcerer Kings, what I was really excited for, and see how they play on the table, because Cassandra and I have done a podcast episode about them. We've kind of talked about them here and there. We've talked to them with other players, and there were kind of like ups and downs with Sorcerer Kings. Like there was, at the start when they first got released, Bloodlust was a huge problem. Getting their rituals off was kind of bad. They were very much an army that didn't want to die because of how the rituals worked. Parabellum has gone back and reworked all that, gave them kind of a hot fix, and I would say they're in a much better position than they were when they first started, for sure. I think that they are a strong contender as a faction. They're just going to be more technical than a lot of the other factions that are currently released. Like, you really have to figure out the wizard game plan and play it. If you want any tips on that, I'm going to have to play more games to give you an honest opinion on how to do it, or talk to people who've played a bunch of it. I know Aaron from Just Roll Ones has been going on a Sorcerer Kings deep dive. I know Ben from Confident Conquest has been going down Sorcerer Kings, so I would strongly suggest checking out their content as well, and or talking to them on the international Discord, or the BonkTable Discord, what you can join in the description below. However, I am once again playing Dweghom. And because I loved Rollo Castle so much from the last time I played, I actually really like the list. It's very much a classic castle style list from Dweghom that's been, I want to kind of say, updated for modern times, in quotes, but it's very good. It has a lot of strong positioning, really good guns, does a lot, and really brings out the Steel Shaper Warlord, while when I play Trifecta, I completely botched it. But Rollo Castle is just a really good list to get your hands on for what is, in quotes, classic Dweghom. So with that, let's get into the lists. Let's get into the game. Like and subscribe. You're an adult. Do what you want. Alright, here we go. Alright, Rollo Castle. What can I say about this beauty? I played Rollo, who is the American judge in North America, who does, well, mostly all the events in the United States. He played this to me on TTS. I loved it so much that I was like, I gotta play this, and I've been really loving it so much that I'm even going out of my way to build a third box of Fireforge just to play it. That's how much I love it. It was originally a list made by Ben from Confident Conquest. Rollo played it into me, and so he gets the dubbing. His name is on it, so sorry, Ben. It's all Rollo all the time. So, he is running a Tempered Steel Shaper Warlord with Memory Breath, Aura of Death +1 on the regiment. That character is in a unit of Hold Ballistes with Herald of Magma, so you're getting Aura of Death 3 from the regiment, and there's 5 stands of them. Plus the character, so it's like 6 wide. It's a very good light to get on the table. You got a lot of good shooting. You're pretty good defensively with your defense 2 and a shield up to 3. And you're going to do some good work with their shots no matter what, just because of the sheer amount of them. And it's a great bunker for the Steel Shaper, just kind of sit in and hang out and just generate tokens. Unmake armor is really good. I've even used Honed Blades before if someone ever gets into me to get up to Clash 3. So there's a ton of good things going for him in this. The Steel Shaper Supremacy, this is the big one that I'm going to just kind of talk about. You generate shit tickets, like all the rest of them do. And you get to spend your shit tickets, and when you spend them, 3 of those shit tickets, up to 3 of them, can be used to heal the regiment that it's being spent on. So you can still spend 5 to reduce, but 3 of them get used to heal. So what tends to happen is, let's say I'm at full health, I get clashed, I take 3 damage, and then I take 3 resolve. I decide to spend 3 of the shit tickets. I will then negate those 3 hits, and I will heal those 3 wounds that I took from the clash, and I'm back to full health. Sweet. You can even use it, you can use it defensively, you can use it on resolve, you can use it on the impacts, you can use it for a bunch of stuff. It's really good. The only problem with it is that you don't generate as many tokens as you would, let's say, double Sorcerer with Magma. You can generate a lot more that way. Steel Shaper doesn't have a high enough, not gonna say have a high enough, but he doesn't generate more, but his tickets are more effective because they're kind of double dipping. So you could get hit by like 15 attacks, you could spend 5, reduce 5 down to 10, heal 3 of the wounds that you took, let's say, from something else, and then your opponent, then you roll defenses for those 10, And let's say only 5 go through, so you just take 5 damage instead of potentially like 9 or 10 damage and all the other stuff. So really, really good there. I'm liking his supremacy more, that there's a list that kind of feels better to use it and has a bit better generation and an idea and game plan. It's very much, your game plan with this is very much a classic style castle. He also has 1 unit Fireforge and 2 Steelforge. Steelforge, let's talk about this fantastic regiment. They're still a little ridiculous. Like they're not overpowered like they were before with Defense 5. That for sure needed to go. However, they are still very strong. Like their defensive stats of Wounds 5, Resolve 4, Defense 4, even that Evasion 1, like that doesn't really come up a whole amount, but it's good smite reduction. Or does it die to Thyrans? What is another like joke on the BonkTable Discord of, well, Thyrans will just kill it. It's like, yeah, but I could shit ticket off a bunch of that, and I'm still Evasion 1, and I could heal up and, you know, get some, like, still live, and then clap them back and kill them. Because Steelforge are basically 13 cleave 1 attacks. So if there's an MSU Steelforge, you're just going to take 13, because you flux power for +2 clash, going up to 5, inspire, rerolling 6s. You're going to get 12 to 13 hits on cleave 1 all the time. That's going to do work into your opponent whenever they're fighting. The defense 4, resolve 4, especially if they have the healing shit tickets behind them. This is just an insurmountable wall that you just have to target all guns, death laser down, blow it up. They're a very hard unit to deal with due to the amount of support from the shit tickets and what they have defensively. They're still very strong, and they still take a couple turns to get rid of. Then we got double Tempered Sorcerer and Fire on a Drake with Fireforge. It's just Warband duplicated. So we're running 2 of these bad boys. I love them. I'm getting a little better on my wizard plays by getting 4 successes on my fireballs instead of like 2 or none. However, I am playing into Sorcerer Kings today, and so we will be getting into each other's interference, what's going to be a little fun. And we were like, oh, you're an interference, but I'm not interference. Like, oh, no. And we're like, and then we started blasting because we were just like, fuck it. There's nothing else to do. I need to get my tokens. Hell Junior Drake, a very good platform. I think for one of the memes, I cut up the Drake and attached it to a baby stroller and put a Tempered Sorcerer in there because it is what it is. Like, it is the greatest baby carriage for the Tempered Sorcerer. Like, he loves being on that thing. I always say, like, the Tempered Sorcerer has probably one of the best warbands in the game. Like, he just has everything he wants, and it's all very good. Like, it's at a very good cost to get it all. Like, Fireforge at 180. Yeah, it's a bit pricey, but what Fireforge do, it's like they're anviling for you. They're a very strong gun, and they can keep things off of the things you don't want to get hit, like Hellburner Drakes. You don't want to lose your Tempered Sorcerers until much later in the game. So with that, I'm going to slow roll my rules. Pause the video at any time. We're going to talk about Sorcerer Kings after this. I might even use Nicolette's art for the thumbnail. Haven't even decided yet. Still recording the game. If you are wondering where I get all my thumbnail art, there is Nicolette Nuytten, who is in the description of all my videos, because she is the one who made the BonkTable logo and all the other art I have for all the various characters and factions that still get produced and released. If you'd like to see any of her work, or I don't know, anything with her, her link to, I think, her Instagram is in the description below. She is a local artist to Winnipeg, Canada. So there you go. Alright, let's go to Sorcerer Kings. Alright, here's Sorcerer Kings. List is called Tournament Kings. We're having a local event coming up. I won't be able to be there. I'm off at work. Sucks, but that's okay. So people are trying to get all their stuff ready, figure out lists, all that. My opponent for today has played about, I want to say, 5 or 6 games. Him and a buddy been playing it. He's finally getting out and playing at stores now. So it's like, okay. I really wanted to play him because it's like, okay, I got to play Sorcerer Kings. This is a great way to do it. I just want to get some games. His first warband is with the Raj. This guy's Wizard 7? What the fuck? I didn't even realize that this guy was Wizard 6 or something. Alright, well, this guy's basically going to be casting a lot of Molten Blades. He kind of flip-flops between Born of Air and Born of Fire. He has the Jabo Kavach, the Kizard Haderach. I'm going to butcher a lot of these names, but I know this thing's actually good. Jabo, Jays. There it is. Whenever he casts a spell, yeah, this is the reroll 6 thing. So whenever he casts a fire spell, all the Born of Flame guys reroll 6s for hit rolls. So that's on their impacts, on their volleys, on their clashes. It's not defensively, and when he does the same thing for Court of Air or Court of Air spell, he does it for the Court of Air guys. Super good, love it a lot. He's gonna be casting a lot of Molten Blades. It's a pretty good spell. He's Born of the Elements and Lord of Conflict. So Born of the Elements makes him a brute. Lord of Conflict gives him +1 attack, +1 wound, +1 like something else, maybe resolve something, maybe clash. So it really buffs up his offensive capabilities. Overall, probably don't want to duel this guy. Like, he's evasion 2 base. He's got decent wounds, clash 4 and 6 attacks. He's doing really well, especially if he gets Molten Blades off. He'll be doing well, like really good into a duel. And he is a brute, and he is going to be sitting in the 6th block of Sword Dancers. Yay! I don't mind these guys at all. Molten Blades. Let's have a quick look at Molten Blades, because I think that's gonna matter. There it is. So it gets Cleave and Deadly Blades until end of round. So that's gonna be really good. So that's how. So he's gonna basically cast Molten Blades, and then he's going to entourage into the Sword Dancers. So then there's 6 attacks with Cleave 1 and Deadly Blades, and they're going to be inspired to 4s. They're going to be doing a ton of work. They are Defense 3 and Resolve 3 base, and as we know from like Steel Legion, that isn't a very survivable stat line. They are Evasion 1, what does help, but Evasion 1 is not as effective as Evasion 2. Like, being Evasion 2 is so much more effective than Evasion 1. But however, they are 5 wounds, so they can take some chip damage, but my list is a very dedicated shooting list, so I'm planning to blow up a lot of these guys before they even can get to me. So we'll see how they react to my list and how my opponent deals with all the nonsense of the guns. Then he's running 2 units of Gals. They're the Gals. It's like Gru from, was it Despicable Me? These are your fast, light infantry. They're not great. They're great for setting up your reinforcement line and maybe getting in the way and tying stuff down, but they really are just like please kill me stats. Like Defense 2, Resolve 2 on Evasion 1 with 4 wounds. Like, this used to be a lot worse. They used to be wounds 3. But still, this regiment just like dies. This dies to Mark Crossbows. I know that one. They're like worse raiders. 7 attacks is nice, but Clash 1 just says like please kill me. So I really see these guys as like a speed bump, a pinner, a reinforcement line setter. They kind of really want to get up there into a flank. I don't really have anything like super good to say about them, but I do have a couple bad things to say about them. I don't think they're a great unit. I don't know what you would do. Like, I don't know if you would want to be bothering to take these guys. Like I get it, having some lights, but I'm also like, they're not very good lights. I don't think the 110 point cost is worth it for this. Like, I think they die more effectively than Militia do. However, we have our Warlord, the Maharaja. He's got Supremacy Elemental Conflux. This basically allows him to get more rituals out. He has, let's see here, Elemental Conflux. When a friendly character performs an elemental ritual action, add a ritual marker to the ritual that's currently being prepared. You may add 1 ritual marker to 1 other ritual that is currently being prepared. Okay, yeah, that's why. So basically, every time he like does a ritual, he gets to add a ritual marker to the one he's in or doing, and then another one that's always being performed. So he's running 2 characters. Raj is going to start doing rituals. Maharaja is going to be doing rituals, but whenever the Maharaja is doing it, he's going to be giving a token also to the Rajas. Sweet. He's in an 8 block of Raja Corps who automatically get their standard bearer. You don't even have to pay points for this. It doesn't even give you an option. You just get it. That's really nice. Raja Corps are effectively better men-at-arms. They have 1 higher resolve, same defense, same wounds, same clash, same attack, same speed. However, they are hardened 1. And that hardened 1 does show up in matter. It gets rid of a lot of low-end shooting into them, keeps them alive a little longer, saves them some from higher AP, especially in such a large block. You can kind of take the wounds. MSU wise, they're not bad with that hardened 1. Like, I feel hardened 1 on this stat line does a lot for this regiment. And When I saw them, I'm like, okay, so he's running basically a better, bigger block of men-at-arms, but at the end of the day, they are still men-at-arms. 4 attacks, no support, /2. So you're trying to increase your frontage, but there's only so much frontage you can put on the table before you're just getting absolutely blasted because everyone can get to you, or you're blocking yourself in. The Maharaja is sitting in the unit of Raja Court. He's also running 2 Flamecasters. I like these guys a lot. I think they're fantastic. Speed 6, range 14. So they're pretty quick. They have about 20-inch threat. They're volley 2, however, but they are barrage 5. So you kind of want to like walk them up, get into that 14, shoot, and then next turn take aim and shoot at volley 3 with your barrage 5. You're getting a ton of hits. I don't know off the top of my head if there's like a wind spell to increase wind damage like there is with Molten Blades. Like I could probably go like Wind Kiss Blades and see what that actually does, or I could just pull up on my phone, figure out what it does. That'd probably be easier instead of me scrolling around all the time. I don't know if people like that. Comment and let me know if you do like that, where I go over the rules and everything. I know some people do, but other people are like, ah, you're doing stuff. I'm like, yeah. Okay, so Storm's Wrath. Turn a piece of terrain into some other stuff. Wind Kiss Blades. Parrying count. Yeah, okay, so there is no range buff. If there was a, maybe it's on the Sorcerer, I don't know. It's been a while. I know some of these spells have kind of changed since a little bit of an update. But I still think these guys are really good, especially for their point cost at 160. That Barrage 5 is super good. Their defensive stats for a range unit is actually pretty solid. Because they're not dealing with Resolve, the defense 3, they can take some chip damage and still output, especially like the defense 3 and wounds 5. They still die at the same rate as Sword Dancers do because they have the same defensive stat line. However, if they're getting counter shot, they're not taking Resolve, so you're gonna have more wounds there. Besides that, I think they're fine. They're a good range unit. And then we go into the Windborn Djinn at 190 points. Range 20, AP 1, and Barrage 3 at Volley 2. I don't think they're that great. Once again, like I feel like this is the elemental defensive stat line. 5 wounds, Resolve 3, Defense 3, Evasion 1. Like I'm noticing it on all their guys, and it's kind of mediocre. Like I've played Steel Legion before who Resolve 3, Defense 3. Like they are 4 wounds, but even then, like they still just take damage and die. This isn't huge. And so like this is good against chip damage, but once something dedicated comes into you, you are dying. And it doesn't have to be like a Death Star hammer or anything. It could just be like something like this is a hammer. This is an MSU of Uger. Like they'll just rip this apart. Stuff like that. Like something that's more offensive tuned than defensive tuned will do real work into the stat line. However, range 20, AP 1, you know what? That sounds pretty great. The problem is they're Barrage 3, so they're not getting very many shots. And at Barrage 3, you are just 2-inch longer Merc crossbows who are 105 points. You have the same volley stat, but you're 190. You're 85 more points than Merc crossbows for 2 extra inches of range and +1 speed and better defensive stats. Like, you are 100% not worth the point cost. That is my problem with Windborn Djinn. Like this game, they did some good work. They shot at stuff. They got rid of an objective. They put some plink damage into me, but I was never worried about them. This was never a threat to me. Like I play Merc crossbows. I know what Merc crossbows can do in output. Windborn Djinn, you are a much worse Merc crossbow for your offensive stat line. I would like to see this changed. I would like to see Djinn to be, let's say, more evasion focused. Let's drop the defense, put them to evasion 2 or something, or give them Barrage 4, or like do some stuff to actually help them out, because right now they are overpriced for what they are doing. This is, however, the only long-range pick in the faction currently. We're still waiting on the Archer ladies that Sorcerer Kings have, and once those ladies come out, I know a lot of Wizard characters are going to be moving into them because they're further back and safer away. And I also know probably a lot of Windborn Djinn are going to be put on the shelves, even though they have some of the most beautiful models I've seen. I'm like shaking my hands like that's it, and I know you can't see me and I totally forgot. Alright, last thing. The Rashasha Ravagnar. This thing's fucking sweet. Fucking love this thing. Like, I saw this and I'm like, god damn it, I gotta go deal with it. It actually has a pretty good stat line. Like, it's Aura of Death 5 and whatever. Born of Flame, so it's a fire guy, so you can heal, you get the reroll 6s stuff, what's going on. He's Cleave 2, it's pretty good. He's Fiend Hunter, what's really good. Hubris, I think, is his, he gets +3 march against, or +3 inches for charges against monsters. And he has last word, so when he dies, character regiment will target another regiment. So a spellcasting character, was basically all of them, will target another enemy regiment with an 8. They will just take 8 hits in the flank. And that's kind of a little nice thing. The counterplay is that there is nothing within 8 inches of your wizard spellcaster character guy for this to pop off once the Rashashka, the Ravenar, butcher some names, the big old scary monster tiger thing, dies. So it's a fun effect when it happens, but sometimes you just don't get it off. And as the game is going to go on and lists develop and people start putting their wizards into the archer ladies, you know, you don't want enemies around your archers, so this effect is going to get less and less value. However, it has also a pretty good offensive stat line. Mastery 11 attacks, wound 16, movement 7, so it's quite quick. It's got a good clash. It could do a little bit more for attacks, but its whole job is to hunt monsters and brutes, so that Fiend Hunter helps that clash for the rerolls to get its all 11 of its attacks in. It's terrifying. It's got a nice wound pool at 16, however, it does suffer from kind of like the monster stat line of like a bunch of wounds, but still defense 3 and resolve 3. It is evasion 1, what's kind of nice, but even then, evasion 1, I'm not too worried about. If it was evasion 2, I'd be much more worried about it, because evasion 2 tends to, like, the dice gods will decide if you live or not. While I find evasion 1, you're just like, yeah, I made 2 saves out of 20 attacks. Whoop-de-doo. While I've seen people with evasion 2, it's like, I've made 12 saves with evasion 2, and I only take 8 wounds, and I make all my resolve. I'm like, fuck you. That's how that went. But yeah, it's good offensively. It's a great long bomb, especially because it's Born of Flame, so you can, and Elemental, so you can triple activate it after a ritual is cast. Man, so this is a thing you got to remember. The Sorcerer Kings are going to build up their rituals, and then they're going to cast them in their deck, and then their next card is going to be an Elemental thing, and then it's going to get to triple activate, and then you'll see like this Rashasha like march, charge, clash, and just rip into something. So you can understand how wonderful that is. But yeah, it's super duper fun. Yeah, that's my opponent's list. I would strongly recommend you pause the video and read any rules I did not cover as I am scrolling through them. Kind of talked about it a bit, but yeah, I'm not going to cover all of it because I'm still learning the faction myself, and we got to get into the game. So let's go to the scenario. All right, here's our scenario today. It's Forlorn Hope. We have our 2 neutral objectives in the middle, and our 2 9s and our 2 6s. I like this one. It kind of has like a fight. I'm just doing some dash lines around those 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4 feet. Like anything outside of that black box does matter, but not as much as those 2 and 4 feet box right there. You get 3 VPs for killing the objective. You get 2 for each zone. If you're scoring 3 or more, you get 3 VPs, and you get 2 points for every enemy character stand. So it's not bad, mostly scenario focused. And the thing with this is what you do is you take over your 2 closest zones, and you start scoring them as early as possible. You then, at some point, kill your objective. You don't need to kill it right away. You can kind of do it on your own time, but do it at an appropriate time where you're not losing tempo. That's what I see with a lot of people, is that they will lose tempo killing their own objective. Range attacks, work really well because they can flip towards the enemy if the enemy's getting close, or plink at the objective away to just get rid of it at your own dime if there's nothing coming at you. And then you kind of have to make a push into your enemy's zone and at least take over one of these. Once you do that and you're on 3 zones, or if you prevent them from scoring for a turn and start getting a leg up, you just kind of have to hold it and ride out the game that way as you fight each other off. If you're fighting and you're getting up on points but you're losing the armies and you realize, like, you know, it's not close to call out the game, like let's say it's turn 8, you're up by 15, and you're starting to lose the army, you kind of have to just hold out long enough that you can just kind of ride your point lead into victory, because this is such a grindy scenario. It's not, I wouldn't call this like a dead scenario as it is live, but the distance, I'll just do it in, let's just do it in purple. Like the distance between here and here is very short. I think it's like about 2 stands. So if you have a 2-stand wide regiment, that's about 5.2 inches, you'll touch both those zones and you can score both of them. So what tends to happen is someone, I'll use purple, takes over 2 of these zones and then has one regiment scoring both, and then swings out this way to capture the other zone while holding off theirs. And I'll use a different color. Let's use this brown. So they'll hold there, so they kind of get 3 and they push their opponent off. That's what tends to happen here. Like they collapse a flank and then they push in and hold. Or the opponent does the same thing. They push in, take this, and then it kind of spins 180 on the table as each player fights each other. That's how this scenario tends to go. And the real goal is to really just hold off on one of these zones, push through and take the other, and try and score 3 for at least probably 2 turns, and then after that you can just ride it out to victory till turn 10. That's what tends to happen with this one. The big other thing, I'll do it in black, is that there's no reinforcement on the side. What hinders some armies more than others, for Dweghom it's great, because you really only have to focus on such a small amount of the board, and you're not worried about your opponent coming in from the side to get to you. For other armies, I want to say like Nords, not as great, because it's kind of just a grind scenario in the middle where you can kind of like try and play and outplay your opponent, but you're not, I want to say, like super speeding and taking a ton of stuff. And well, I guess Nords would just speed up and like get on the zones on your opponent's side really quick and like score them and then back off. So there's a game plan for Nords, but stuff that isn't as fast but still wants to do something similar to that is not going to have a good time. Let's go to the table and have a look at that. Here's the table we played on today. We got our red zones for our objectives there, and then we got these bases. There we go. We then have hindering and obscuring forests over here. We got some broken over there, so if you charge through it, you got to roll 6. If you're a cav, you take 2 wounds. If you're a regular guy, you take 1 wound. Size 2 elevation, water, and a house. I'm just right there. It's an obstruction. You can't move through it. You can't draw a line of sight through it. You know, it blocks stuff. It's obstruction. So things that are relevant for terrain. I'll just do it in black because I'm looking black today. This hill, this woods, and this woods. So it's not bad. Water, to be honest, didn't really come up this game. It could have been relevant with different lists if, you know, if there was a more melee focused push or people didn't go as deep as other people did, would have came up more, but mostly my opponent and I maneuvered around it, or if we were on it, we were less than half stand, so we were not bothered by it. Broken terrain, I think came up once, or, well, I think it came up twice, because there was like a charge, like we both charged through it. It was this guy over here at some point. And we were like, we took like a wound each, and it was like, whatever. This house does come up, but it's for all the wrong reasons. What's really sad, because it's just like getting around it. But besides that, I don't mind the terrain here. There's some relevant pieces, and there's also stuff that could be relevant, but we're not due to our lists. So let's go to turn 1. Here's turn 1. I get my Steel Shaper and my Hold Ballista. Yay! Hold Ballista, run up the table. I just deploy them 6 wide. I'm looking to... I'll use black because I'm just really liking it. You know, shoot this objective at some point next turn on turn 2 and you can score it. I'm setting up so that I can threat project this way and kind of take over this bigger zone with them if they get hit, if they can shoot. You know, my opponent has running is a lot of brutes, so size 2 and 3 stuff, and has, I think, only 3 size 1 things. And if I'm on that hill right here on the zone, I can see over a lot of stuff and just get a lot of work done. All right, cool. Like, not a bad spot to be. My opponent runs his goals up. He's just trying to, like, get in here and, like, deploy off of my 1 foot. That's his plan. So if that's like 1 foot there, that's terrible. FG. Oh, that's off the table. He's going for that. Like, that's his plan with them. I don't think that was super great of an idea. Like, he's coming and trying to get into my back end. What he should do as with such a fast unit and against Dweghom is you want to get into their flank, you want to get in behind, you want to get into the side because Dweghom doesn't like to rotate. So it's not bad there. However, I have plenty of time to see this coming, and it's very projected. So I'm like, okay, well, next turn I'm going to get some mediums. I'm just going to pop this thing in the head with some shots, kill it, maybe get it, fight some Steel Forge, whatever, move on with my day. There we go. Tempered Steel Shaper casts the Harden 1 spell on himself, so the Ballistae are getting hard. Let's go to turn 2 and see what else I get. Here's turn 2. I get my auto in, what is a Hellbringer Drake with a Tempered Sorcerer. I fail all my other rolls. My opponent, however, brings in his Raj with his Flame Dancers, his Maharaja with his Raja Core, Windborn, and other unit of goals. I look at it and I go, wow, this is super duper amazing. So one of the first things I do is, once again, cast the Harden Yourself spell with my Steel Shaper. No reason, you know, clicking up those tickets. I want to generate them now, nice and early and easy. I don't have to commit to anything. We're still super far away from each other. My Ballistae just walk up 5 and pop a cap into the objective, dealing 1 wound. Alright, starting work on that. Starting to threat project on this zone. Starting to get on that hill. You know, doing all that stuff that I need to do. At this point, I'm kind of fine sitting where I am to get work done, because my opponent, who has deployed on that side a bunch of melee regiments, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. His goals continue their march up the table, and they get, I don't know, somewhere around here. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I walk 7 inches on with the Hellbringer Drake. I make sure that I have a line. That is terrible. So I'm just going to exaggerate it. So I have a line that the Hellbringer Drake can touch that zone if it just runs up 14 onto it. And I am 14 inches away from the center stand of the goals. Now, why do I want to be 14? I've walked on. I still have my second action was to shoot. Well, it's because I messed this up before. Like, I've shot with my Hellbringer Drake, killed the side stand outside of 14, so now I'm very much looking to actively be within the fireball range so I can blow some stuff up. Hellbringer takes a shot at the goals, kills like a stand and a half. Tempered Sorcerer goes, shoots a fireball, you know, does a bunch of damage, Resolve kicks in, wipes out the goals, get another token. I'm like, sweet, they're dead, don't have to worry about them. Because I didn't get any other cards except for my Tempered Sorcerer, I was very much like, I would have probably not committed my Tempered Sorcerer and Hellbringer Drake like that, because I would have had something else to just go deal with the goals. Like, I probably would have dropped some Steel Forge on that side and just charged at him, or not charged at him, but been like, hey, you know, have to fight me, like, blah, 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 blah. But I didn't really need these guys in my deployment. I didn't need them up in my grill. I didn't need them coming off the table. I didn't need them into my side, so I just need to get rid of them. And because they're so far forward, I could easily deal with that and clean them up, while my opponent has now amassed his forces on this side of the table. Windborn Djinn, let's talk about those guys. They're doing a nice little threat projection this way. That's fine. Sword Dancers looking at my opponent's objective, looking to kill that. Also fine. Another unit of goals behind the Windborn Djinn will just like shoot out. He's on the hill, so he can just look over everything and just get in the way and be annoying. So overall, he's kind of got a decent game plan there, and I'm just waiting to see what else on my side of the table is going to be relevant and what it can do and what's going to happen. Let's go to turn 3. Here's turn 3. My opponent gets his 2 Flamecasters. Yay! I get 2 units of Fireforge and a unit of Steelforge. First things first, the whole Ballistae, I believe they basically just take aim and shoot into the objective for another wound. My Tempered Steel Shaper casts the Hardened 1 spell again on the Ballistae, you know, keep farming those points, no reason not to. My Steelforge, like, I'm not doing anything with the Drakes early because I'm trying to bait out my opponent. My opponent, like, counters and goes with, like, the Sword Ifrit and goes for the objective, knocking it down by 2 wounds because of the impact in the clash. He then rotates his Windborn Djinn and then shoots into the side of the objective and kills it. His goals ran up, as you can see right here. I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm just gonna run, like, later in on the turn, after, like, my Steelforge are sitting right behind my Ballistaes and my 2 Fireforge units are there. My 2 Drakes just kind of, like, bolt up the table. And then I activate my Fireballs off of them because they're my last 2 cards, and I just, like, drop Fireball from the further away Drake and the Fireball from the closer away Drake, and, you know, get them down to 1 stand and break them. So they gotta rally, they gotta do stuff. It's like, yeah. I am on the zone, so I'm happy about that. My Steelforge here are looking to hop my Ballistaes next turn and get into the Rajikor, or sit on, I'll use orange, like, sit on the edge of the zone and just just lip it a bit so that my opponent can't get into me, and then the Ballistaes who are on the hill, who are going to be size 3 to my Steelforge's size 2, they're just going to unload shots into the Rajikor, do some work there. Steelforge can just take the hits and do all that, like, you know, just have a good time. He's brought up his Flame Dancers. This over here on the left is like a missed deploy. He didn't need to be that far forward. This building that I'm circling in green kind of just zones him out of that, and I truly believe he should have, in purple, just ran right up behind the Rajikor. Like, I have to kill the Rajikor to get into the Flame Dancers, and the Flame Dancers can see over the Rajikor, so they would have just been hucking, like, fireballs and crap over them anyway into me, so he could have easily just sat behind them, sat in the zone, scored that, but them being that far over doesn't allow them to do any of that. The Flame Dancers on the right side, however, I do like their position. It's not bad. He's got to come up. He's probably going to go for this Hellbringer Drake. It is sitting in the woods right now, so it's going to be half shot, so instead of getting like 16, he's going to be getting 8. But if he's within 14 of me, I can fireball him, I can do a lot of work, I can start popping some caps, doing whatever I want, and start taking control over the table. So the things I'm worried about in brown are the Flame Dancers, because they can Molten Blades, Deadly Blades, have a billion attacks. I need to keep those away from me. I need to kind of shoot them down and really take away a lot of their extra attacks and damage. The Rajikor are just Men-at-Arms. I don't really care. They're just an anvil at this point that I need to chew through and keep off my zone. So we'll see how well that goes. And the rest of it I'm not super worried about. Like, I feel like my Fireforge are just gonna deal with it and clean up really nicely once it gets to me. So besides that, that's turn 3. My opponent and I both score, well, he scores 4 points and I score 2. So we're getting on the table. Oh, and he scored the objectives for another 3, so he's at 7 to my 2. Yeah! Just getting that early lead, and so it's good. Let's go to turn 4. Here's turn 4. I get the drop, I win the roll-off, and I go Steelforge, March 6, and then I look at the distance between my Steelforge and his Rajikor, and I need a 2 to get in. I'm like, alright, I don't got a banner. Last time I did this and needed 2 to get in, I failed and got a 1. What's the chances of that happening again? Rolls a 1. So I'm like, okay, sweet. So I move up 1 inch, and my opponent draws his Maharaja. Or I don't think he draws the Maharaja. I think he draws his Rajikor and charges me and does some damage. He then has, Configuration go off of the ritual because he completed it. He then has the Maharaja cast the fire spell into my Ballistaes, I think before they actually, so yeah, I forget, god damn it. So I think the Maharaja goes, he casts a fire spell, and then he like maybe entourages into the Raja Core and gets into my guys, and then at some point he uses his ritual to cast more spells. Like I think he casts another spell into, oh I did that red. Let me do the blue. Into them and then into them. So when he uses the ritual, he gets the triple activate. The sword dancers are over here. Like do a wheel, march up, and then he's trying to get into my Hellbringer Drake right here. We looked at it a lot, and basically he was like, okay, I'm going to get into the Hellbringer Drake. I'm just going to charge straight. And I'm like, you can't. You're going to land on the objective that has a wound for me left and 3 for you. So it's like, you're not really going to kill this thing. And if you try and go for it, I'm going to pop it before you get, like, you do more damage to it. Then he tries and gets into, like, the Ballistes. He's like, I'm going to try and wheel in here. And I'm like, well, no, you're going to land on the objective again. You can't get... I'll use this color. You can't get further in here because you can't move through your own guys who are already engaged with the Steel Forge. So it's just kind of like this back and forth of, like, what can he legally allow? Or what can he legally charge and get away with? And we eventually figured out that he can probably get, from this position, a stand into the Hellbringer Drake. And it's like, okay, well, how far away is it? He needs an 8. He's speed 6, so he needs a 2. So guess what? Guess what? I rolled a 1. He rolls a 1, and then the world is balanced. And so he only moves up 1 inch, and I'm like, whew, I don't have a Raj, I don't have any of the sword dancers into my Hellbringer Drake. Like, if he, you know, he's like, he'd be cleave 1, he would have been Deadly Blades, I would have been spending tokens, I would have been trying to reduce, all that stuff. So now, he's 1 inch up, he's like half in the woods, half not in the woods. And now I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? So I start dropping, shots. So this thing shoots it, drops a fireball. These guys shoot them through the woods, do a bit of damage. Fireforge shoot them. Hellbringer Drake shoots them before the ghouls got in. You can kind of see the ghouls right there. The wizard on the Drake, because my opponent at this point hadn't committed the whole Flame Dancer wiggle, just shot a fireball quick into these Jinn, the Archer Jinn, because I'm like, well, I might as well start getting work on those guys done. I didn't really care about the ghouls. I had other things around that could clear them off if I really needed it. And so I wanted to get rid of bigger threats. Windborn are kind of a bigger threat than ghouls. Like, I'm wasting an activation to go kill ghouls anyways. I can kind of do it on my own dime because I'm just in a better position. My opponent is outscoring me, but I can start doing work into other things and start securing a victory. So, as you can see with all the shots, Raj and his sword dancers are just reduced to 1 stand and broken. I am no longer afraid of this thing. They just kind of got obliterated. I'm happy. Fireforge over on the right here, just move up and wheel and just look to shoot the ghouls. They were kind of one of my last activations, and my opponent, losing stuff and having less things, has the Rashasha like run up from the side here and is looking to long bomb charge my Hellbringer Drake here. I'm like, don't really want that, doesn't seem that great, so I need to get the Fireforge kind of up and blocking and covering the Drake's flank. I then bring up the Steel Forge here, so that when the Rashasha, you know, the big monster, I'm gonna mess up names, don't worry. Once that is committed, the Steel Forge can go in and deal with it. I'm trying to figure out, like, how I can get there. They're a bit wide, but also, like, I'm you know, like, maybe I can get into the flank if, like, one of the Fireforge die, or I can get onto the front. I just need to get into it. That's kind of the thing. What else happens? Oh, these Fireforge run up, and they're within 14 of the flank of this. That's a straight line. It looks perfect, I know. And they're really there just to kind of, like, you know, shoot into the massive Raja Core block. I need to get rid of it. I might as well start getting some forces over there and finish it off. What else is going on? Oh yeah, these... I don't even know. These Flame Dancers shoot into the Hellbringer Drake. It's half shots, take some wounds, whatever. These Flame Dancers, he thought he could get around the house, but when we actually measured out and started doing all the movement, he couldn't. So he's kind of stuck behind this house here. I'll just circle in black. And with that, he didn't really get any shots off just because of the misdeploy. And so I'm not worried about those Flame Dancers at all. The house is doing more work for me than it is for him. And I can start focusing and picking off all his stuff one at a time, piecemeal, how I want to. Right now I got a pretty good castle going. There's defensive stuff to keep the Hellbringer Drake safe. There's defensive stuff to keep the Steel Shaper safe. The Fireforge are getting a lot of work done. And that's the end of turn 4. My opponent scores 2 zones, getting 4 points. I still score 1 zone, getting 2 points. At this point, I think my opponent's at like 11 to my 4. So he's still up on points, but it is only turn 4. And a lot of his army is within gun range, and I'm really picking it off. So I'm going to start clearing up like the Sword Dancers, the Ghouls. I'm going to start getting into his backline on the right flank. I need to be worried about his monster. If I can kill that, the right flank will collapse. And then we got to put a ton of work into the Rajakor, because if we can kill the Rajakor, his left flank will collapse, and we'll, go from there and win the game. So let's see how that all pans out with turn 5. Here's turn 5. So, things that go on. Activate Fireforge first. Shoot into the Raj, the Raj and his Sword Dancers. I just want to get rid of them. I don't want them around. I don't want them to rally. I don't want them to do anything. I'm just like, you just start killing off easy things. Sweet, they're dead. My opponent has his Rajakor attack my Steel Forge. I'm like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. My other unit Fireforge go, shoot into the side of the Rajas, do a bunch of damage. Steel Forge go, stab the Rajas, do a bunch of damage. Ballista go, shoot the Rajakor, do more damage. The Maharaja, cast a spell of fire into the Steel Forge. Rajas, I've already said they attack, but getting some work into the Steel Forge. I'm healing the Steel Forge. I'm spending some tokens, healing it up. I'm spending some tokens here and there to reduce damage because I know my opponent has the Flame Dancers shoot into the Hellbringer Drake. The Windborn Djinn shoot into the Hellbringer Drake, and I'm like, I believe this Hellbringer Drake also shoots at the Rajakor and then fireballs the Ghouls who are in front of my Hellbringer Drake to free it up. That's it there. On the right side, he does a ritual, gets the triple activate, charges into my Fireforge, does a ton of damage, leaves him down to 1 stand. Fireforge, rally and withdrawal. They take a bunch of damage, but I use some shit tickets to heal that damage up and reduce it so they're alive. I think they're alive on 1 box, and they end up over here. Then my Hellbringer Drake activates, shoots into the side of the Rakshasa, does 6 damage. Then my, Steel Forge activate, they're within 7 inches, they charge into the Rakshasa and deal 13 cleave 1s. What kills it? Off a resolve, and it dies, and I'm like, sweet, it's dead. And I'm in a really good spot here. I believe my opponent is broken on this zone, so I'm scoring it. I'm also scoring this zone, so I finally get 4 points. I'm like, sweet. His Flame Dancers finally move up and just huck some fireballs at the Steel Forge, get in the zone, so then he is also scoring these 2 zones. So he gets 4, I get 4 as well, but at this point my opponent has 4 regiments left, and none of my army has completely died. I've taken some chip damage here and there. Oh, and when the big monster exploded, he decided to have my Ballista take the damage, and I lost a stand, and I was like, oh no! But it was okay, whatever. So, with that, I'm in a really strong spot to kind of close out and do well in this game. So let's go to turn 6 and see what the wrapping up is. Here's turn 6. I have, I think this Hellbringer Drake shoots and kills this Rajakor. I think they were at like 6 wounds left, and I was like, yeah, okay, Hellbringer Drake can do that, and it's dead. Character stab Steel Forge. I'm like, yeah, whatever. My opponent then decides that the Flame Dancers charge into the Steel Forge. My next card was the Steel Forge, so he like charges in, does some impacts. I heal them, reduce damage. I wanted to charge into him first, but he charged into me, so I just activate the Steel Forge, kill off the Flame Dancers, claim that zone. These Ballistae, I think there was like one Flame Dancer left with a couple wounds, and so these Ballistae on the side here shot in the side and killed it, because I could see it, and I'm like, sweet. And my Fireforge here just move up because they're looking to get into the zone later once the Steel Forge go away and claim the other zone next turn. So this happens on the left flank. On the right flank, these Fireforge finally kill the objective, getting me those 3 points. Sweet. And over here, Hellbringer Drake just takes aim, fireball, all that stuff, full blasting into the Windborn Djinn, kills them off. I then get attacked back by Flamecasters who throw more fireballs into me. I'm like, yeah, whatever, you know, I'll just spend some tokens. I'm getting kind of low at this point because I'm just spending it to keep everything alive and healthy. But I just march charge with the Steel Forge right into my opponent's Flamecasters, tying them up. And at this point, the game is kind of over. I'm going to just unload into those Flamecasters with my Hellbringer Drake. The Steel Forge are going to bludgeon them. And I'm just going to take over the rest of the zone. So that's next turn. So is that turn 7? Let's go to turn 7 and just show you the end result. Here's turn 7. So my opponent wins the roll-off, attacks Steel Forge. Steel Forge are like, whatever. They attack back. Kill the Flamecasters. I think they're like down to like a stand. At that point, I just run my Drake up to get into the zone to score it. And then I just have my Wizard shoot a fireball into them and blow them up and they're dead. Then the rest of my stuff just kind of runs up and gets into the zone, so these guys get here to score that. Steel Forge just kind of like, or sorry, not Steel Forge, Fire Forge just walk up. Well, sorry, the Steel Forge run up into this zone first, then the Fire Forge go, and they go claim that zone. They just, you know, move and shuffle. So at that point, turn 7, opponent's army is dead. I'm claiming all 4 zones. We're just like, okay, good game, shake hands, and I'll show you the end score, and we'll talk about it. Here's the end score. I believe I end with 57. I think, roughly. I don't know. There'll be a thing. Editing Mass will figure it out. And my opponent ends with 15. So we just added this all up to turn 10. I don't know why. It just kept going, but if we didn't, I think I actually would lose because I was getting like 11 points a turn for doing all that. So 2, 4, 6, 8 plus 3 for scoring 3. Yeah, so it was 11 points for turns 8, 9, 10. So it's an extra 33 points on top of whatever I had before, plus the 2 characters that I killed. So yeah, doing pretty good. Let's talk about the game. Overall, I like what Sorcerer Kings were doing. There was some talk after with some of the locals about running like why 3 character Sorcerer Kings is more relevant because they're like you're getting more rituals out. I think my opponent liked 2 character. I'm not sure. This is my first game into Sorcerer Kings. I don't really look into the list development and how they play because I never really got a chance to play them into now. So now I got to start thinking about them and like how they're doing. I like Flamecasters. I like what the Sword Dancers are doing. My opponent had some good play, like made a good play with the Rajakor, but didn't follow up very well. And that might, I guess, sound harsh, but it's not. It's just like you have to kind of like figure out a game plan and follow it, and you tend to win. Like it's usually what problem like bleh. This is a problem I had like back in War Machine or I'd see from people is that they would have a game plan, and then maybe something would slightly change and they wouldn't follow the game plan and they would try to do something else, so they would swap their game plan halfway through the turn, and now you're trying to follow 2 different game plans, but they're not set up to support each other, and you would just have a bad time. And so in this case, my opponent wasn't following up properly once they made initial contact. So like they have 3 range regiments, and those 3 range regiments could have easily hung out behind their stuff and just started unloading. I believe my opponent did well on the right side of the table by the Windborn Djinn and the Flamecasters, but when we were playing the game, my opponent's like trying to charge with the Flamecasters. I'm like, dude, just shoot me. It's like you're stuck behind the Rakshasa. You can't get into me because when you do your wheel, you're gonna hit him, and he's not dead yet. Because I didn't kill him until like the very end of the turn. Because like, well, he's charging into me. I'm just gonna take my time and wait for whenever that happens. Because it could be early, it could be late. I just have a card advantage. I'm gonna find out when that is. So, but on the left side, them not putting their Flamecasters directly behind the Rajakur, they could have been scoring 3 zones for various points, getting a huge scoring lead, and committing that regiment. So it's just kind of figuring that stuff out. And I know for them, this was their 5th or 6th game, but it's also like, hey, these are the things you gotta take away from it. These are the things you gotta learn. But like, besides kind of figuring out the movement system, I think my opponent's in a really good spot to like learn and understand and get good at this game. Like a lot of their technical ability of using the spells was good. A lot of their understanding of rituals was good. Like there's stuff like that. It's just learning the system itself, and that just comes with time and practice. And I know one of my opponents, Skill and Who's Play Spires, we were talking with him after this game, and he was like, oh, I lost for like 2 months straight, but it was like learning how to move your stuff and wheel it and do all this properly. And it's like, yeah, you know, that takes time to learn. So just come on and play games, understand it, and you will see growth and improvement. But I think that's really like, I want to say like the big thing my opponent did was like not properly follow up on their own stuff. I think they had very good ideas. I just didn't like follow up or execute it as well as they could have or needed to. For myself, I think my castle was pretty good. There wasn't really any holes. I didn't really let my opponent into anything. Like I was taking range damage, but it's pretty hard to hide against guns. Dweghom guns are kind of like a shotgun. Once you get within that like 14-inch range, you're gonna get shotgun to the chest, and that's what I'm planning to do. Like I only had control of one of those zones for a majority of the game, but my opponent wouldn't been able to kind of carry away the score without taking a third and getting into my shotgun range. So they kind of had to come into me, or I would have just moved up and just kind of kept blasting them and done it on my own time and dime and start picking away at their stuff, especially at their range regiments, so they couldn't counter shoot me. Because their range regiments are very susceptible to gain Dweghom guns, especially like the Hellbringer Drake, who's range 16 with overcharge for AP2, like, and fireballs. Like you just get within 14, just watch them explode. So that was really fun for me. I think my withdrawal play with the Fireforge was also good when they fought the big monster, because like he killed 2 of my stands, and I'm like, and then like I activated them, and I like took some more of death, and I healed them up a bit, and then I took withdrawal damage. I took like 3 wounds, and then I healed up 2 of those wounds, and then took like 1. So it's like I ended up down with like 1 health left on that last stand, but it freed up enough space for the Steel Forge to get in, and I'm like, yeah, this is where I want to be. Steel Forge didn't get impact attacks as they're going through like the hindering and didn't get inspired, but it's like, I'm gonna go to Clash 5. And like rolled it anyway and got no 6s. So I was like, here we go. Dice happen, especially with charges, what suck. Maybe I just gotta go for guaranteed charges, or charges where it's like, this isn't bad. On the left, when I was trying to get into the Raja Core with my Steel Forge, I was really thinking of just double marching, so that I could zone them out and they could charge me, what I've been fine with. However, I'm like, well, I could get in there and like deal some damage. There's no reason not to, but it's like, no, the reason, like, they got on the zone and I was not locking down that zone. That was bad on me, and I should just ran up into their grill and been like, come at me, bro, and just kind of dealt with it. So yeah, there's that. That one kind of sucked. It always sucks rolling a 1 for a charge, to be honest. It's a 1 in 6 chance to get it, but I'm just accepting that I have notoriously bad dice at this point, and I just got to accept it and move on. spellcasting, we started to get into interference range with each other, where we just started popping spells off at one another. I think at one point my Steel Shaper tried to unmake armor on the Raja Core because they got down where the scaling didn't really matter. And I'm like, I only need 2 successes, and it's like still failed. I'm like, fuck. While at one point the Maharaja like tried to hit me with another one of his fireballs and didn't get it off. He rolled like a bunch of 3-ups and just didn't get the spell off. I'm like, yay! So I was going back and forth. What's fine. Like, the dice do even themselves out, and so finding consistent, reliable things is kind of the way to go to mitigate risk and randomness and chance. So with that, I want to say thank you very much for watching the Battle Report. BonkTable has a Discord. You can join that in the description below. We got a podcast. You can listen to my co-host Cass and me talk about stuff. And there's more Battle Reports on this YouTube channel that you're probably watching this one on. So, hope everyone has a great day.